Okay, hey Melissa, this is a training video for the new pupil artifact viz function. So this is the function here. You're pretty familiar with it already. The new features now, I'll run it for you. The new features now, you get pretty much everything you asked for. So if you grab one of your set files, and you want to start doing some artifact flagging, you can just open them up, and you have to have EEG lab on your path, so I didn't do that, that's why I got that error. Okay, so let's see, there we go, pupil artifact, load a couple of files, and this is mostly the same for you, except that now there's two choices for the types of brushes you can use. So you can use a blink brush, and you can see it's set to the blink brush already. So when you want to flag blinks, you have it set to blink, and when you want to just mark bad segments that you actually want to remove from the data, then you switch it to flag. That's all. So blinks are interpolated and flags are removed. So if you go to blink, we can mark a couple of blinks. So here's a blink, let's say shift and hold this down, we get another blink. Okay, now once they're highlighted in yellow, you actually have to hit the mark button to mark them as a period of time that you want to do something with. So then they turn this sort of turquoise color, and that's how you know they're marked. Alternatively, you could hit next or back to scroll to another segment. That would also save the marks and turn things turquoise. But mark is a nice kind of explicit way of doing it. You just click mark, and then now you know those highlighted regions, which you can sort of still see in the background, are now turquoise, and so those blinks will be interpolated later on. Okay. So let's go to a section we might want to flag. So here's a blink train, whole bunch of blinks. Perhaps we want to flag that. So I just click flag there on the right, and now you can just grab it all, and it's still yellow because it's just highlighting it. But if I hit mark, then it turns green. So green, in this case, green is for anything that you actually want to remove. And in the next step, the data will actually be removed that you have flagged green, and a boundary event will be placed to patch things up. So that's great. So we can have that, and then on the same window you could go back to blink and say grab this blink and then click mark, and then now that's turquoise. So you can see you have a moment of time that you want to remove completely here in the green, and you have a moment in time that you want to interpolate because it's a blink. Okay, now if I go away from this window, so I just hit next and I go back, I can still see those marks are there, and if I go back to the very beginning, I can see those two blinks. And if you hit erase, then it will actually erase what's in the current window, but not what's in the other windows. So let me just grab these blinks again. I'm set to blink, so I just blink, grab that one, shift, blink, grab that one, and then hit mark. So now those are marked. The other ones are marked, and now I'll just hit OK, and it will load the next file. Okay, so this is the next file, which actually is just the same file. I just duplicated it. So whatever, we'll just do something similar here. Let me just grab a couple blinks. Blink, 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 mark, or you could just have hit next, and that would basically mark them as well. So those are blinks, and then let's get this flag here, or sorry, this section of time that perhaps we don't want to interpolate. And okay, so rather than hitting mark, I'll just actually hit next just to show you. So that's set. The highlighted region will eventually turn green because you want to remove it completely, and it's set to flag. So I'll just go next. So now you're in the next window, but if I go back, you can see it's green. So back and next will also sort of commit your flags. Okay, and then let's just add this. I'll switch to blink and grab this blink, and I'll just mark it. Okay, so that is good. They're all in there. Now I'll just hit OK, and we're done. Now so there's some new features there where you can add different types of artifact brushing. Okay, so that's great. The files that are on the way out there are just the flag files and the interp files. So the interp files have the blinks interpolated. The flags files just have a structure stored that has all the marks in them. So whether they're from blinks or whether they're from just flags that you put just to get rid of data. So basically they're exactly the same. One's been interpolated and one hasn't been touched at all, although the mark structure is still stored, just in case we want to do something else with it later. Okay, now one of the other things you asked me for was being able to load up a file that you had worked on and see the flags in color. So you can do that now, and I'll give you an example. I'll just call pupil artifact viz again, but this time I'll actually load one of the interp files that was just created, just to show you that all of the moments in time that you flagged are still flagged with the right colors, although certain things will be interpolated. So, well, let's see what happens. Okay, so this is great. So remember, we grabbed those two blinks at the beginning, right? So we have those, and then in the next window we have a section of time that hasn't been removed yet. That gets done in a later step, but also there's a blink here on the right that we got. So you can still see that there are marks. Marks that we made are still stored. Okay, so let me just cancel out of this because I don't want to do anything with it. And then the last, one of the last things is, let me just open up this pupil script here. Okay, this is the pupil script that you're still familiar with, although I've added a block to the end of it, and I want to run it. And what this is going to do is actually going to purge the sections of time that you wanted to get rid of. So we've already dealt with the interpolation, but this time we want to actually purge everything that you highlighted in green. So I'm just going to run this block. You can just copy and paste it as is into your command window. Okay, so it's going to ask you to grab either the flagged or interpolated files. Let's just grab the interpolated file. So interp. Okay, and nothing's really going to happen. It's just going to work in the background and get rid of all of the data. See, and it's going to save something called, well, I'll show you in a second, but it's going to tell you, okay, purged file has been removed, and there's some different things about the data being purged. And now you have that exact same file, but it has underscore purged. And so now you can actually load the purged file with artifact pupil artifact viz again. So you can always load these files just as you requested, and only now you'll see that certain things have been purged out. So the interpolated blinks have been left alone, and but what do you see now? Well, when I switch to the second window, so here's the first window, we have some blinks interpolated. Here's a second window. You actually see a new event here that wasn't here before. This is a boundary event, and so basically this is where the data was removed and then bandaged back together with this boundary event. So that's great. We now have a way to completely remove the data or interpolate the data across any number of points. And also we have a way of visualizing what we actually did just by loading any of the files up at any step. Okay, so that is it. You have your purged files now, and this file that we're looking at right now is pretty much ready for segmentation. You have, I mean, if you rejected all the artifacts that you want to reject and interpolated the blinks, then you can just go ahead and write a segmentation script, and then you're ready for statistics. So that should work. The only other thing is, if you have any other trouble with some version of MATLAB interacting with Macintosh computers, then that's something we'll have to think about for a later time. But I would suggest downgrading MATLAB to something that's less than 2014, because they made a lot of changes that might mess some of this stuff up. Anyway, all right, that's the little tutorial video. Just email me if you have questions.